Welcome to Boca, and welcome to C3 Transform. I think you'll find the event in the next couple of days quite substantive. The menu is very substantial. It won't be surprising to any of you, knowing us as the woke company that we are. There are no vegan options on the menu. Okay? This is all pure protein, and we're going to be. I hope we have a lot of really gifted people today, present company excluded. Okay, who are going to talk about Dr. Krishnan and Jimmy Lawrence from the NRO and Rowan Curran and Sherry Marcus from AWS are going to talk about kind of what's going on with generative AI. I think you'll find this very impressive. We're going to be joined by Chris Manning from Stanford to talk about LLMs and where did they come from and where are they going. Wholesome is going to join us on their journey in applying predictive analytics into their business, very substantial business in Europe related to sustainable business products. Con Ed will talk about. This is very much about our partners and our customers talking about their learnings. Okay, what works, doesn't work, so we can all learn from each other about best practices, worst practices, and how to get this done. And Con Ed has been on a kind of very substantial digital transformation now for some years that we've been privileged to be a part of, and they're going to share that with us. Ed Abbo and Jim Snobby is going to talk about AI, where it is and where it's going. We're going to be joined by Secretary Condoleezza Rice to talk about the intersection of artificial intelligence and national security. Dr. Sapowski, who is a historian of science from the University of Illinois, is going to share with us his thoughts. Yes. The Thomas Siebel Chair of Computer Science at the University of Illinois is going to talk about how should we think about AI, as we've developed through the intersection of technology and sociology, be it agriculture, fire, the Jacquard loom, the steam engine, urban electrification, the transistor. How does AI kind of fit into this? Then we're going to be joined by our good friend Alan Murray, the CEO of Fortune Media, and a number of members of the C3 board. And they're not really going to be here as C3 board members, but people who are very active in other boards around the world. Lisa Davis, formerly CEO of Siemens Energy, who's on the board of a number of companies, including Phillips 66 and Penske. Rick Levin, President Emeritus of Yale, C3 director, and has been on the board of American Express, CEO of Coursera, what have you. Mike McCaffrey, I think he's lead outside director at NVIDIA and has served on the boards of numbers of corporations. Bruce Sewell, formerly the general counsel at Apple and general counsel at Intel, and then and then K.R. Sridhar, who is the CEO and chairman of Bloom Energy, and they're going to carry on a discussion about what's the view from the boardroom. How are companies thinking about AI? How are they thinking about mitigating the risks? How are they thinking about deploying these technologies? Then we're going to have a number of breakout sessions, around data science and generative AI and ESG and interests, the various areas of interest that many of you have. State and local government, big area going forward. Tomorrow we'll begin with a review kind of going forward with Adrian Rami and Jim Apostolidis from Baker Hughes and Jake Whitcomb from C3. Adrian runs products at C3 to share with you kind of where we've come in the last year and where we see these, our product family going in the next couple of years. GSK is going to share their digital journey with us. They're making a bunch of very interesting inroads in applying AI, everything from drug discovery to production optimization. James Lawrence is going to join us from United States Air Force Sustainability Office to talk about their use of AI, which is massive scale, okay, as it relates to AI for predictive maintenance in the United States Air Force. We will be joined by Lila Fridley, who runs our reliability products, Duke Energy, Dow Chemical, and Shell, to talk about their journeys, which are, when we get into places like Shell, their journeys are very rich as it relates to digital transformation, application of AI to all of their business processes. And now we're engaging it. Duke Energy is well down the road, and Dow is now kind of getting started on what will be, I think, a long and productive journey. Then we'll be joined by my good friend, Lord Amar Sarfraz, who is a member of Parliament. He's a member of the House of Lords. General Cardone, former commander of the U.S. Army Cyber Command. Lieutenant General Dennis Krall, who is very much a Marine. General John Hyten, who was served as immediate past vice chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Sir Gordon Messenger, General Sir Gordon Messenger for the United Kingdom. He is the Constable of the Tower of London, formerly commanded the Royal Marines, and then we're going to close this thing down and break out into a number of breakout sessions. You'll see, next door, we'll be showing a number of past and future products, and we'll just kind of see where this goes. But we're here. The entire executive team is here. The entire C3 Board of Directors is here. We are here to learn from you. We are here to learn how we can do our jobs better and how we can deliver the products and services that you need to meet your objectives. So please, so we look forward to that. So I want to talk a little bit. We're going to put this in the context of enterprise application software. And when I'm a computer scientist from the University of Illinois, I did my graduate work in relational database theory, and this is before relational database technology had been commercialized. And I went to a little startup company called Oracle Corporation. They had about 20 people. It turned out to be a pretty good idea. And we thought about the commercialization of these technologies, and I think we did a pretty good job of commercializing it. Then in the command interface, the relational database technology, what was that all about? That was really a big breakthrough. And that was about the application of set theory to information storage and retrieval. It just had enormous economic and productivity benefits that we could get into some other time. But I thought it was important and developed some fluency in that domain. And then the way that we interacted with these data sets were through languages that employed what we call relational calculus or relational algebra. This would be SQL or Quell. And it was almost like command line. These were interpreted languages, and it was highly technical. And then we developed tools that had the goofiest names. There's now the early 80s. It was like SQL Forms and UFI, called User Friendly Interface, so we could represent these data in columns and rows and tables. And then we used those tools in turn to build, starting in the mid-80s at SAP, at Oracle, and other companies, to build enterprise application software that did things like CRM and ERP and manufacturing and supply chain. And this allowed us to close our books and to count, how many employees we had 6 months ago, and what our revenue was 3 months ago, and what our customer churn was, and what our expenses were, and what our inventory was. And today, it would be impossible to close the books of any corporation in this room without these technologies. And these technologies, this turned out to be a pretty good idea. This is about I think a $600 billion business today. And what these technologies enable us to do, see if I get this to go backwards, I can, is tell what's going on with a business with perfect 20/20 hindsight. 30 days ago, 180 days ago, 365 days ago, What was our revenue? What was our customer count? What were our inventory levels? What was our customer churn? Okay, what was our availability of machinery? How many 737s fell out of the air, et cetera? Okay, and by the way, what were our incidents of anti-money laundering events that name the financial institution? And if we don't report these correctly, CEO gets to rewrite his resume, his or her resume, company gets fined. I mean, the consequences are draconian, but it is perfect 2020 hindsight. So where does predictive analytics come into this? So, I mean, this idea of building these applications in CRM, ERP, manufacturing, I mean, it was a good idea, right? It's a pretty big business. It's about a $600 billion business today. And now so where did AI came from? It come from. AI started in 1951, a person named Marvin Minsky at Princeton, okay, and he started investigating with this idea of kind of reinforcement learning and neural networks, and he thought there was some there. Well, it took a little while to build the infrastructure to be able to get some substance out of that, and so it took, now 70 years later, we have elastic cloud computing, big data, the Internet of Things, these technologies, GPUs that were brought to us by our colleagues at AWS and Microsoft and NVIDIA and other leaders that make it now possible to realize this vision that was painted by Marvin Minsky and Alan Turing and others. And so today we can solve these problems. So now, what happens when we apply AI to this enterprise application stack? Are we replacing this enterprise application stack? No way, no how. Is SAP going away? Sorry, bad news is SAP is not going away, okay? Okay, your manufacturing software is not going away, okay? Your accounting software, your HR software, it is not going away. But it enables us, rather than simply report what our customer churn was, okay, what our device failure was, how many airplanes flew out of the air, what our failure was to deliver, aircraft, on time, in full, okay. What we can do now is we can make these applications predictive. So we can identify device failure before it happens, so the 737 doesn't fall out of the sky. Okay, we can identify customer churn. We know which customers are going to leave in the next 90 days, and we can save them. Okay, we can predict, exactly how much inventory, rather than talk about, what our supply chain problems were. Okay, we can talk about how much inventory do we need in each bin from Shenzhen to wherever they make 777s in South Carolina to be able to deliver the products on time, in full, to meet the customer's needs. So the applications become predictive. And so how big is this? Well, it's not a replacement market for the entire enterprise application software stack, but it certainly does change the entire enterprise application software stack. And I will argue, it's March 2024. Let's fast forward 3 years, March 2027. There is no CEO in the world who will be able to withstand a board meeting where he or she is standing up and reporting what customer churn was, what device failure was, what the level of fraud were. It's not going to be, that's an unsurvivable board meeting. Okay, when the tools are in place to prevent the failures, prevent the customer churn, and make sure you can deliver the products on time. And so this is big. How big is this? It's big. And so what do we see as in what we call enterprise AI, which is the corner of the AI space in which CI plays? I mean, this is about customer retention. It's about predictive maintenance. It's about demand forecasting. Autonomous vehicles, actually, that might be, I'm not so sure about that one. It's about anti-money laundering and what have you. So this gives us the opportunity to predict the future and change the future. And so the predictions for the enterprise AI market, now we've been at this for 15 years. So when we started C3 AI, we started C3 AI, and we started thinking about this in 2006. We ideated in 2006, 2007, 2008. We started in January in 2009. Okay, let's think back, okay? In 2009, AWS was this big. Azure didn't exist. Google Cloud didn't exist. GPUs didn't exist, okay? The only people talking about enterprise AI on the planet Earth was us, okay? And then we spent 15 years, so this is now expected to be, roughly $1 trillion software market today. So the world is we spent the better part of 15 years and some number of $1 billion building a software stack that allows organizations to design, develop, provision, operate these massive scale predictive analytics applications, some of which you are doing, and we're going to talk about the next couple of days. But if we get to enterprise AI, that looks like almost $1 trillion market. And this is before we get to generative AI. And generative AI really does change everything. We're going to talk about that really quite a bit in the course of the next couple of days. So this was the work that we did starting in 2009. And this is $2 or $3 billion of heads down software engineering by some pretty senior software engineers, many of whom had been in the enterprise application software business for decades. And the idea was to provide all the software services in a unified architecture that would allow organizations to design, develop, provision, operate enterprise-scale applications. And these applications would then run without modification on the Azure cloud, the AWS cloud, the Google cloud, on bare metal and behind the firewall, air gap behind the firewall. And this is what we built. And when you're dealing with enterprise applications, what are the kind of level 0 requirements? Level 0 requirements would be identity. Level 0 requirements would be data access controls. Data level 0 requirements would be, cybersecurity issues associated with encryption in motion, encryption at rest, what have you. For any applications of this sort, you need to be able to build it. So what sort of applications does this mean? So did we build with this? So first we built the core platform, and then we built 65 turnkey enterprise applications that address the value chains of utilities, address the value chains of power, address the value chains of defense, intelligence, health, telco, aerospace defense, manufacturing, oil and gas. To optimize inventory, to optimize supply chains, to deal with supply network risk, to demand forecast, to prevent customer churn, to optimize the smart grid. The smart grid, and when you get into the smart grid, it's pretty complex. And that's where we started. That would be the largest, most complex machine ever built. So fast forward from 2009 to 2023, it turns out that, this was a pretty good idea. The world has kind of come our way. So I could say, on this date in, March of 2024, I don't think it's an overstatement to say that there is no CEO, there is no business leader, and there is no military leader who is not having a meeting today about how to apply these technologies to his or her business processes, be this prosecuting war, be it making automobiles, or be it serving constituents, okay? These are, without the use of technology, you simply will not be able to compete in any of these arenas. So this is what we've accomplished so far, and you're going to see in the course of the next couple of days, it's moving pretty quickly going forward. And we have the great privilege, of serving some of, many of the world's leading companies, be they Shell, the United States Air Force, the Department of Defense, Cargill, Google, Bank of America, Johnson Controls. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're privileged to be at the table. We're privileged to be in the game, and we're privileged to be on the team. So thank you for the opportunity. A couple of examples of pretty large-scale deployments. Shell has adopted what they call Shell AI, which is C3 AI on top of Azure, with a lot of derivative works that they have created, and Shell intellectual property that they have added, where we have unified virtually all the data sets that are available to Shell. Be it telemetry, be it weather, be it maintenance systems, production systems, and this is the standard for upstream, downstream, midstream at Shell. Be it predictive maintenance for offshore oil rigs, predictive maintenance for ESPs, hydrocarbon loss accounting, production optimization and refining, process optimization and refining, production optimization in wells, retail fuel station analytics. I mean, we're very much part of all the initiatives at Shell to reinvent Shell to be a carbon neutral company, and with massive integration of renewables. So it's very exciting. And so Shell you'll have the opportunity to hear from Shell and what they're doing, but it is massive. This might be, this is certainly one of the largest AI deployments on the planet Earth. These are the assets that they brought live at Shell. An asset at Shell is not a valve. An asset is not a machine. An asset would be like Pernis. Okay, Pernis would be the largest refinery in Europe. It's the scale of roughly 12 aircraft carriers. So this is, or Nigeria LNG would be an asset. So it's very exciting. The second and last project I'll talk about, and we'll have, of course, talk about a little bit in the course of the weekend, is the United States Air Force use of our technology for AI predictive maintenance. Okay, what's the problem? The United States Air Force operates about 5,000 aircraft. On any given day, half of those aircraft will not deploy. Average airframe is about 30 years old, and we have an unscheduled maintenance problem. We have unscheduled maintenance. Then you have, supply chain problems, parts problems. The damn thing is in Bahrain, okay, or wherever it is, and it sits there for a while. And so the idea was, could we fuse the data from all of these weapon systems, F-15, F-16, F-18, F-35, KC-135, F-22, et cetera, into a unified federated image, including the telemetry. And you get into a unified federated image, build machine learning models, and predict device failure before it happens. So if we can predict system, subsystem, or device failure, be it auxiliary power unit, flap actuator, or the igniter in the afterburner of a B-1 bomber, if you can predict device failure or system failure 50 or 100 flight hours before it happens, then you can dispatch the personnel and the materiel to converge with the aircraft on its flight profile, fix it that night in Stuttgart, it flies away, and you have much more aircraft availability. So this is the rate at which we've brought these systems live in the United States Air Force. I believe this is the largest AI application in deployment in the Department of Defense. It is the only system of record that I'm aware of for an AI system in the Department of Defense. And we're able to increase aircraft availability on any given day by 25%. Hey, let me help you out. 25% of the scale of the United States Air Force is a lot. I mean, this is a big deal. This would be a B-1 bomber. B-1 bomber has 42,000 sensors. I think this got 42,000 sensors in each of these airframes. These things cost about $350 million a copy. These sensors are emitting telemetry, I believe, at like 8 Hertz cycles. So this is just one example of the 22 airframes. So this is about 100 terabyte data image. And we're able, for this airframe, there are 41 active today. On any given day, 18 will fly, and we're able to demonstrate that we're able to get 3 to 5 more aircraft in the air on any given day. Hey, at $350 million a copy, this is significantly non-zero. So at the scale of the Air Force, this is a pretty significant accomplishment. And we'll learn more about this application in the course of the next couple of days. I want to talk about generative AI. How big is this? It is bigger than you know. And it's scary how big it is. And the more you learn about it, the scarier it gets. And it's not actually scary in the sense of, I don't think we need to be so concerned about, the dark side of this that we hear about from Sam Altman and others that, where our smart refrigerator is going to take over your house. Get over that, okay? Okay, that doesn't happen anytime soon. But this is really powerful. Now, I've been looking for a good book on generative AI for the last year, and it's all drivel, okay? There's nothing out there. Until just about the last month, Stephen Wolfram from the University of Illinois, you know him from, Wolfram Research, Wolfram Alpha, Mathematica, okay, wrote a book called What is ChatGPT Doing and Why Does It Work? It's not really about ChatGPT, it's about LLMs in general. This is a great book, people. I wanted to get copies for all of you for this, give it away, but I was unable to get them in time. It's 90 pages. It takes an hour and 15 minutes to read, and you can get it on your Kindle, and I don't know, it costs $14 or something. If you don't like it, send me an email. I'll give you a money-back guarantee. I mean, it's a fascinating story about how these things came about, what little they do. I mean, it turns out, putting sentences together in, proper prose in English, French, COBOL, or C++ is a pretty simple problem. It's much simpler than anybody thought. And that's all they do, okay? The other thing that you'll find is that nobody has any idea how they work. I mean, it really is, they don't know how they work, okay? And Chris Manning will come up and talk about this, but it really is voodoo, which is a little scary, okay? But the utilities of these guys is just amazing. And I want to talk about it because this is a discussion in every boardroom in the world today. It's a discussion in every meeting room in the Pentagon today. And what is this all about? And so we look at this generative AI. Is this a gift horse, or is this a Trojan horse? I mean, if we look at what's going on with these large language models that are available today, be it Anthropic, be it ChatGPT, be it Gemini, whatever it might be, you can load anything that you want into it, basically as long as it's text or code. This is what they call unimodal. Okay, you can put in text or code. Now, if you listen to Andrew Ng, who's an authority in this area, he will tell you that multimodal means image and code, and then it's multimodal, and it solves a larger class of problems. Well, I think it's a pretty limited class. Now, organizations are very hesitant to install these guys, and in many of your organizations, in fact, they've been banned, and for good reason. Because you find that for those of you who have been on Bard or ChatGPT, the responses are random. Every time you ask a question, it gives you a different answer. Or if two people ask the same question, it will give you two different answers. Okay? You can't figure out where the answer came from. And by the way, the large language model doesn't know where the answer came from. None of our access controls are enforced. And in many of your organizations, be it all of your organizations, data access controls are important. They're important in the CIA. They're important in the United States Air Force. They're important at Koch Industries. And they're important at Bank of America. The cybersecurity risks associated with these large language models are well documented. I mean, these offers, kind of massive vectors for attack vectors for cybersecurity. We have a problem with data exfiltration. See Samsung for details, where all their intellectual property ends up on the public internet. That gets to be like no fun at all. Okay, when it doesn't know the answer, these damn things hallucinate and make up these crazy answers. I mean, they're just great. It's very creative. This is associated with something called temperature, which you'll learn about if you read the book I told you about earlier. It has to do with kind of setting the temperature level. It's a problem. This IP liability is no small deal, folks, okay? So if any of you know this law firm, Quinn Emanuel, I mean, these guys are gonna make a fortune, okay, in the next 10 years, litigating, establishing the law as it relates to IP liability when these things have learned or are using somebody else's IP to which they own the copyright to solve your problem. Well, these people at the New York Times, or the authors of the novel, or the people or at Bloomberg, or the weather company that comes up with the weather, or Bloomberg that gives the stock prices, hey, they want their piece of the action, and they're going to get it. The last problem is all of the solutions that are out there tend to be, with the single exception, I would say, of Bedrock, which we're going to learn about from our partners at AWS, they tend to be LLM specific. And in March of 2024, to bet on any one of these LLMs is just crazy. I mean, these guys are out innovating each other at such a rapid pace, spending billions and billions of dollars, that you just want to be able to exchange these guys on any given day. For any one of these reasons, okay, this dog doesn't hunt, okay? No way does your CISO allow this to be installed in your organization for any one of these reasons, and all of them are kind of absolutely disqualified. So at C3 AI, we've gone about this in a completely different way. So we're using generative AI, okay, in combination with the platform. Remember the billions of dollars of work that we did on the platform? We're not dealing with unimodal, okay, at Shell, at Koch, okay, at United States Air Force. We're not multimodal, we're omnimodal. We take every kind of data that you have, text, images, chatter, telemetry, OSI data, structured data, unstructured data, ERP data, CRM data, manufacturing data, customer sentiment data. I mean, there's no data that we can't ingest into this platform. Things like identity, come on, you know we've nailed that. Access control, encryption and motion, encryption and rest. So we're able to solve and basically when all these capabilities that we've added to the platform over the years, reinforcement learning, unsupervised learning, supervised learning, deep learning. Now generative AI, we just add on to this. So this structure, the way that we have this structured is really quite unique. Again, the omnimodal stuff, you know that we've nailed this. And structurally what we've done is we've separated the LLM from the data. So think about the LLM as the mind. It communicates with us, and the data being the brains. Well, we've kind of done a lobotomy where the LLM has no access to the data. So all of the data are ingested into C3. You know how we do that, and you know how we do that virtually because we're doing it in your organizations. And then we take the embeddings, which are the relationship with these data, and we store the embeddings in a vector data store. Now, when we ask the LLM the question, it goes to a retrieval model. It goes to the embeddings. All it does is get the answer and give the correct answer to the LLM. Okay, what are the consequences of that? Okay, every time you ask a question, you get the same answer. Okay, not only that, it can tell you exactly where the answer came from. So you can go to ground truth and validate it. All of our enterprise access controls are enforced. Come on, you know we do this, guys. We do it, at the cell level, okay, and at the data item level. So this is, we have identity, we've nailed that. Access control, we've nailed that. Because the LLM in C3 Generative AI has no access to the data, is there cybersecurity risk? Absolutely. Are any of our systems secure? No way. But there's no incremental cybersecurity risk that's been introduced by this model. There's no risk of LLM-caused data exfiltration because, again, the LLM has no access to the data. We have the temperature turned down to 0 so it doesn't hallucinate. If it doesn't know the answer, it just says, I don't know the answer. Or if you don't have a right to get the answer, it tells you that I can't tell you the answer. So in this case, the Secretary of Defense has different access to data than the private on the flight line at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, right? So we enforce that. In all of our installations, we're not using any open source data, okay? And this large language model, the large language model of your choice, okay, is not trained, okay, on the internet. It's only trained on your data, either data that belong to Baker Hughes, or belong to Shell, or belong to LyondellBasell, whoever it may be, or belong to GSK, or data that you've licensed appropriately from Bloomberg or the weather company. So we've taken the IP liability risk down to 0. And finally, and not insignificantly, this model is LLM agnostic. So as these guys out-innovate each other, be it Claude or be it OpenAI or Anthropic or Amazon or Microsoft or whoever it might be, you can take advantage of those innovations every day. Maybe even Google will come up with something that works one of these days. Now, by the way, it's broadly believed, that one of Google or Facebook or Microsoft or Anthropic is going to win this battle. I don't think there's any reason to believe that. I mean, every time we've had a technology change, when we moved to the IBM PC, where did Microsoft come from? And Microsoft was nothing. Microsoft made a basic interpreter. Anybody remember that? I remember that. I mean, they fell into the IBM operating system because the obvious company turned it down. Okay, how did digital equipment miss the Ethernet? Pretty big miss. The guy Dick Olson was in charge of getting in love with that 8-inch floppy diskette. Remember that thing? Okay, how did IBM miss the internet? Okay, these things just happen. Where did Google come from? I mean, come on, Yahoo had, 95% market share in search? Where did Google come from? So, these companies kind of come out of nowhere. So I think the winner of this is TBD. It's going to be some company in Paris or some company in Bronx or Munich or, Champaign, Illinois. I don't know. But I don't think there's any reason to believe that one of these giants wins this thing. This is going to be a pretty interesting game to see how this develops. But the bottom line is the application of this stuff in our businesses is really exciting. And it's a lot different than you might think. Now, I think the killer app for generative AI is that it is going to fundamentally change the nature of the human-computer interaction model, okay, where we take the Mosaic browser, many of you remember that, spun out of University of Illinois in 1993, as I recall, and you know it as then Google copied it. It's basically the Google browser interface, okay? And this becomes the interface for everything we do. I think the killer app is going to be enterprise search, because today we have all these silos in news systems, CRM systems, ERP systems, manufacturing systems, and we have to go to the HR department to find something about HR, or the manufacturing department to find something about ERP. Well, now when we go with unified enterprise search, we'll have basically a Mosaic browser, and you ask any question of the enterprise, and it'll go to whatever, what's our market share in North America? What are our most significant maintenance risks? Okay, what are my current sales pipeline in EMEA? And it'll go to whatever systems it needs to get the answers. It'll give you the answer in plain English, and it'll tell you where it came from. How many vendors do we have in Central America? What are my biggest part shortages in my lumber operations? We talked about the application where we have the RSO application for the Air Force. This is a pretty big system. I mean, it's 100 terabytes of data. I think there's roughly 800 or 1,000 users today where we're using, and these are specialists. These are maintenance specialists, because all these applications require specialists. We know what the user interface looks like. We all designed this stuff. They're horrible. Okay, but what's the user interface look like in the future? So this is what the user interface looks like now, and it's for a maintenance specialist. And it's not bad, but it does require a specialist to use it. What does it look like in the future? Well, tomorrow. And we took generative AI, we put it on top of the system in 6 weeks. Okay, and what does this enable us to do now? Now, instead of just a specialist, even the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff can ask a question. What are my rental readiness levels of F-35s in Central Europe? And it comes back in English. It gives you the map. It gives you the answer. It tells you, so here's where and this is, I think, particularly relevant today. These are where the F-35 squadrons are. This is obviously not real data. Okay, these are synthetic. Okay. This takes you to ground truth. Okay, this is where the data came from. It shows you every place else in the enterprise, in Department of Defense, will have information relevant to this question. And then you can kind of drill down in a context-sensitive manner, like what are the most common causes for unscheduled maintenance in the 48th Fighter Squadron, and then it lists them for you. Or what are the most critical part shortages in the F-35 unit, and it tells you what they are. So ask the question, get the answer. We're working with one of the companies here and putting generative AI on top of Workday, okay, and ServiceNow. Okay, and what does that do? It enables a mere mortal to go in and just ask a question. Which of my North American offices experience the highest levels of employee churn? And it comes back and it says, well, the answer is Nashville. It has 28% churn. And then you can go in and ask further. So it shows you where it is, takes you to ground truth, so you can drill down and see exactly where the answer came from, out of Workday or ServiceNow or wherever it was. This is every place else in the enterprise where I have information related to the question. And now I can go further. What were the top reasons for employee churn in Nashville? It tells me what the reasons were. Here's what generative AI will look like on supply chain. So this going forward, this will be a user interface for everything that we do at C3 AI. What's the utility to you? It handles the change management issues. So rather than trying to teach, how many thousands of people in the United States Air Force how to use an AI application, why don't you just let them use the Mosaic browser? They know how to use it. The Secretary of the Air Force knows how to use it. The Chief of Staff knows how to use it. The Chairman of the Joint Chiefs knows how to use it. And the private and the flight line and right pat knows how to use it. And their mothers know how to use it, and their grandchildren know how to use it. So here's, which of my suppliers have the worst performance? It tells you what the answer is. Okay, and then you can drill down. This tells you every place at the end of the ground truth. What's the port of loading value? And so now we've released, I think, well, more than 28. I think it's over 35 now, generative AI applications for industries, aerospace, defense, financial services, healthcare, intelligence, what have you. The business processes, customer service, energy management, ESG, and then enterprise systems like Databricks, Oracle, Workday, SAP, ServiceNow. And it's turned out to be a pretty big business. And these have been, this technology, I talked about the hobgoblins of generative AI and why people won't install it. We're installing generative AI in some of the most secure installations on the planet Earth. Missile Defense Agency, I think 3 times, United States Air Force, DLA, Cooley, United States Marine Corps, what have you. And, it's used for, and one law firm is using it to, the applications are really creative. One law firm is using it to ingest the corpus of S1s. You know what an S1 is? S1 is this document you write before you take a company public. The corpus of S1s in SEC.gov, which would be all the S1s that have ever been filed to train a large learning model. And now when their associates go to draft the first draft of the S1 for name the company that's coming public next, maybe Stripe, okay, they put in the name, address, financials, the risk factors, hit the carriage return, and it generates the first draft of the S1. Hey guys, that took an army of associates, 2 weeks before, and now it happens in an hour. So these are the types of applications that we're seeing. I'm going to digress for a minute. There's something I'm particularly excited about, where I think this kind of goes next in the beyond generative AI in the human-computer interface model. If we look at the state of the human-computer interface model, for which I accept as much responsibility as anybody, as of 2023, this is dreadful. Okay, this is the current ServiceNow product. Come on. Okay, and I'm not. And this is Salesforce. This is a cheap copy of Siebel circa 2001. It is. This is Siebel version 7 that we released in 2001. Okay, and back then it was a big deal. Okay, and this is the current version of SAP. And by the way, this is Siebel version 11, which is the product they have out today. It's not much better. It's equally dreadful. And we've done a horrible job, be it manufacturing, ERP. Anybody here use the Bloomberg terminal? Come on, it's unusable, right? But nobody can use that thing. It's incredibly powerful, but nobody can use it. I think that newer generation applications, they're getting a little better, but they're still kind of dreadful. This would be Tableau. This would be what? Palantir. This would be what the C3 applications look like. I think we've taken a step ahead of where others are, but we still have a long way to go. Now, kind of going forward in these applications, be it supply chain, demand chain, I think we're dealing with shipping at Maersk, contested logistics for United States military, DOT, Transcom. And these days everybody's in the contested logistics business, right? You never know when the ship's going to get seized off of Somalia or in the Gulf of Suez. But the kind of data that we need to ingest these days, hybrid sat, low orbit sat, drone, AIS, images, telemetry, and this requires a new way of thinking about kind of what's going on. And so what we're introducing now is what we call C3 AI vision, okay, where we can integrate high orbit sat, low orbit sat, drone, okay, and digital twins. And with high orbit sat, low orbit sat, we get down to 15 centimeter resolution. But whether we're looking at a refinery or whether we're looking at oil rigs in the North Sea, we think this has a lot of utility, and we're going to be demonstrating this in the next room. You'll be able to see it over here. Now, even more interesting than this, and guys, this thing has some legs. It does, okay? And I got one on a Sunday and started, okay, this is version 1. It's too heavy. Okay, it gives you a headache after about 35 minutes. But these people at Apple are not exactly asleep at the switch. Okay, and so we can envision by the time we get version 2 and version 3, the weight of this and the comfort is going to be about like these glasses, and you're going to be able to wear it all day. And you can do things with this that are simply amazing. This is not just all about playing games, okay, and doing FaceTime, okay, and watching movies, although the movie experience is actually pretty neat. There is an intersection between this and what we do. And I have been working on this almost full time for the last 2 months, okay? And we have over there's something called the AI Vision Theater. And I encourage you to stop in and see what we've done with a defense application. But as you'll see how this works for us. Okay, in this defense application, have any of you ever watched the show Black Mirror that came out of the UK, where these kind of screens are in the air, okay, and you just look at things and you just touch your fingers to make it work? Well, this is the way it works. And this application is generally in the area of multi-domain command and control. So whether we're dealing with the South China Sea or the port of Taiwan, we need to be able to fuse high orbit sat, low orbit sat, drone, AIS, ground-based imagery to watch what's going on. So when you put this on in the room, across the hall, you'll see in front of you, just floating in air, will be 5 screens: high orbit sat, low orbit sat, drone, and then common view of the battlefield where all these data are integrated. Okay, and you'll watch. Well, we'll just watch this for a minute.
Our world is awash in data, and to harness its true potential, we must analyze it from every angle. Experience AI decision support in a new immersive user experience with C3 AI Vision. From the corporate office to the supply chain, manufacturing floor, and battlefield, C3 AI Vision provides rich geospatial and temporal awareness to bring your data and AI insights to life. With C3 AI Vision, law enforcement officers can advance public safety via real-time awareness of their jurisdictions. Manufacturers can prevent equipment failures with granular operational context. And supply chain managers can view their entire supply network and optimize logistics directly from the boardroom. C3 AI Vision enhances effectiveness for intelligence analysts with an interactive and collaborative user experience. The fusion of relevant multi-domain data, such as satellite imagery, drone footage, telemetry, cyber signals, intelligence information, and more, creates a common operating picture for defense leaders to analyze, collaborate, and act. Enhanced context coupled with AI insights enables optimized object-focused collection management and elevated battlefield awareness. Welcome to C3 AI Vision.
Make sure, so I'm not certain how you sign up for this, but you can talk to somebody around here who knows what they're doing, and they'll tell you, how to do it, but you gotta see this, okay? And then just imagine where Apple is gonna take us in the next 1 year, 2 years, and what we will be doing this at, for example, at Maersk. At Maersk, we'll be able to see, every ship on the planet in real time, okay? And when the ship gets boarded in Somalia, we'll be able to see it on a drone, right now. Okay, or we'll be able to see kind of what's going on the factory floor, okay, at Volkswagen. Or we'll be able to see, you'll be able to, to inspect, with 15 centimeter resolution, the shearwater offshore oil rig at shallow in the North Sea, okay, in real time. This is way cool. So I encourage you to take a look at it. We've been spending a lot of time and energy on it. And this C3 AI Vision will be the human interface of that we're introducing in C3 kind of going forward. You'll see it in the room next door, where we'll be releasing it later this year, where we can do kind of 3-dimensional representations in 2-dimensional space. And then we're going to kind of wait for the next, we're going to be working on this while we wait for the next version coming out of Apple, where we can kind of do holographic user interfaces of all these technologies. So ladies and gentlemen, with that, again, thank you for joining us. It is on behalf of all of us at C3 AI, it is a great privilege and the professional experience of a lifetime to be on your team and to be able to work with you. So thank you for that opportunity. And we look forward to learning a lot from you in the next couple of days about how we can do our jobs better okay, and what we can do for you to help you meet your objectives as it relates to the applications of these technologies. Thank you very much.